video, we're going to go into the numbers at our agency, particularly the annual plan from last year. And we're going to look at what the biggest impact changes, what changes had the biggest impact on our financials and on our company's success over the last year. This is just the plan and not the actual results yet because they're not finalized. I'll probably do a video to go over those in a future video, but for now we're just going to dive in. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over the annual plan for last year. And then we'll also go over the annual plan, or at least the draft of the annual plan for this year. We still haven't finalized it yet, even though it's the first week of January, and we're hoping to do so this week. So before we get into the financials, I was debating for a long time whether or not to share the agency's financials on YouTube with the public. And I decided, in the spirit of transparency and the great game of business, to do so. And I'm going to go over, for YouTube, I'm just going to go over kind of the overarching categories here. And then for maybe for a paid membership or something like that, we can go into the actual line items. I don't know yet. I haven't decided on that, but just what got me to do this was because looking at SRC, the company where the great game of business and open book management was born, they open up their huddles to the public. Anybody can go there and sit in on a huddle. So I figured if they do it, why not? The one thing about it, though, is that obviously once I share financials for the agency, it's definitely going to be a lot more accountability on me to make sure these numbers keep going up and keep succeeding and growing. But that's okay. The accountability there doesn't bother me so much. And frankly, all businesses have challenges. So if there's anything like that where we have a down quarter, I think that'll probably be good for you to see, and how we handle it with the great game of business and with open book management. So with that, let's jump right in. I'll share my screen. Okay, this is the annual plan for 2022. And just please note that we created the annual plan sometime in July, August. So up until here, it was actual numbers. And that's why there's nothing before August in terms of an annual plan or a projected or forecasted plan. So the revenue total, as you can see, the average monthly from January to July was 168,000. And then the actual, it was a little bumpy in here at times in May, June, July, 166, 148, 156. And then our plan was to keep it at 155, to grow to 167, 175, 175, and then 255. And the reason why it was such a big jump in December is because we were expecting an annual payment, at least one annual payment from clients for the following year. And we've decided to make the change in 2023, and I'll show you in the annual plan, but we decided to make a change to that because an annual payment that comes in December, it could really throw off your bonus plan. And we haven't gotten into the bonus plan structure just yet of the great game. We will in future videos. But so if that annual payment came in, we would hit, let's say, tier 5 or tier 6 on the bonus plan, which is essentially 5 or 6% of people's base salary added on top as a bonus. But if it didn't come in, then we may not pay out a bonus at all. So it was really reliant. The bonus became too reliant on that annual payment. And I don't think it accurately portrayed what was going on, because it was only one annual payment for the year, and the rest of the rest of the payments came in on a monthly retainer basis. So what we decided to do for 2023 was to split up any annual payments into equivalent monthly payments moving forward, subsequent equivalent monthly payments. So there will be no more annual payments factored in like we did here. And also why you can see down here, the profit jumped from where we were making, 20 something percent in profit. And then it would jump up in December to 48%, which is just not accurate because we haven't spent the money to service that client until 2023. So that's the revenue line. COGS total, cost of goods sold. In our business, they're really cost of sales, COS. You can see here, 36,000, 43,000 in May, 34,000 in June. Big drop off, and I'll talk about the changes that we made to have these drop offs. There's one in particular, maybe two in particular, two changes that we made as a team that caused such a big drop in our COGS. So from May to July, I went from 43,000 down to 22,000. And then August through December, it was pretty steady, somewhere between 25 and 30,000, and the planned total of 405. And then gross margin, as you can see here, the percentage in May through July went from 73 or 74% up to about 85% because of that drop in the cost of sales. And then we kept it pretty steady for our annual plan moving forward. Expenses total, the monthly average was 122. And then you can see in May, it went from 127 in May to July down to 97. So it's a $30,000 per month drop in expenses. And I'll get into what caused that cut. And then we kept it pretty stable at about $103,000 for every month moving forward. Okay, so now with regards to profit, you can see here that the actual profit from January to July was $64,800. But in May and June, we had a loss of a couple $1,000, and then in July we had a profit of $36,000. Or 23% of revenue. So this 65,000, if you looked at it from January to June, was about less than $30,000 that we made. And I've said this before when I talked about the results of the great game. We made less than $30,000 from January to June on essentially around $1 million in revenue, which is terrible in my opinion. In our business, 3% profit is not very good. But then once we started rolling out this forward forecasting and gave people line items that they owned and that they can work on, we shot up in profit to 36,000 or 23%. And then it was pretty steady moving forward. And then again, a huge spike in December's profit because of that annual payment, which we won't be doing moving forward. We didn't quite hit these numbers. We were just short of this number in revenue in 2022, even though the numbers are not final. It's safe to say we won't hit this number exactly, but we came close. And then the profit total will be less than this, but close. So starting from, around 30 grand in the first 6 months, and then nearly making 300 grand in profit for the year was incredible. We're very happy with the results. And our people are happy too, because now they have a stake in the outcome. They have a bonus plan that's structured around the profit that we make. All right, let's go into before we do, I almost forgot. The highest impact, or the changes that made the biggest impact on these numbers, there were, I think, 3. The first one was in the cost of sales. Up until May, we were paying for Google ads for our clients. So although that's not our specialty is in the agency is search or organic search, SEO. Although that's our specialty, we got away from that and we started buying clients Google ad traffic while those results came up, because it's not instant that their rankings come up organically. It takes time. So to offset that, we were buying their traffic at a clip of like $20,000 a month. And it took us away from our core business. And it was almost like a crutch, because it didn't put any pressure on us to rank them any faster, because they were getting the traffic and we were buying it and they were happy. But it wasn't very profitable for us. And when we made that change, we got back to our core business and we saved about $20,000 a month overnight. And the clients didn't leave. We had to explain it to them why we were doing that, obviously. But they didn't leave, because they've been with us for a while and they understood that we wanted to do what we do best, which is organic search. So yeah, that was the first biggest change, was to cut out paying for clients Google Ads traffic. If they wanted Google Ads or paid traffic, they'd have to pay for it. So that was the first big change. The second change was that some people left our company. Some team members left our company somewhere between May and June, and then we let others go. So once we opened up the books, taught the numbers, and there was transparency, some people were just not on board with it. They didn't like the change, so they left. That's fine. Then once we started getting into our processes and how profitable we were, where we were spending money, and once we really started looking at what everyone was doing, it turns out that some people were just coasting and not doing much when there was no accountability. So we decided to let some people go. Some people left and we decided to let some people go. So this expenses drop was from our payroll dropping. Not quite all that, because I'll tell you about one other change, but it was a big drop in our payroll number. And without any disruption in service, in fact, it was probably better off, because the people that were working and doing their best were relieved that these people were finally gone. So that was the second change that had the biggest impact. The third was we were paying developers to be on call, really, and not for the work they were doing, which is just completely ridiculous. And we didn't know it until we dug into these numbers. And then the line item owner said, why are we paying these people the same amount each month when sometimes they develop a site and sometimes they don't work as much in other months? So it turns out that we were paying them a steady retainer each and every month. And we decided to make that change. And when we did, that was another huge impact. So now we only pay developers for the time they work. So that was another enormously impactful change that we made after rolling out the Great Game and forward forecasting. All right, so those were the three changes that had the biggest impact. I'm going to go over the, you know what? I'm going to probably, let me see where we are now. 1 second. Just want to see what time we are in terms of the recording. All right, so we'll continue on here. Let's go through the annual plan, the draft. We'll do this in more detail in another video, but this is our annual plan. It all starts with the annual plan. The one thing Steve Baker, the author of The Great Game of Business, told me, we had a coaching session with him, and we were forward forecasting, but we didn't have a plan at the time. So he said, you got to sit down and create a plan or a budget, whatever you want to call it, month to month, because without it, you really don't have a target to shoot for. So it's great that you're forward forecasting, that people are finding ways to be more profitable and to cut expenses and cost of sales. But without a plan, it's not really a game, because you don't have a target. You don't have something to aim for, and you don't know if you're successful or not. So this is, I'll just go over the quarterly breakdown. Revenue total for Q1, 545. Cost of sales 102 or 80% gross margin. And then we're looking at a profit of about 21%. And then Q2, that grows to 24% of 585 revenue. Same 81 gross margin percentage. Q3 revenue, we hope, well, we want it to grow to 645,000, 82% gross margin. So better gross margin because of the increase in revenue. And then a net profit of 28%. And then in Q4, we're looking at 695 in revenue, with a gross margin percentage of 83%, and then a profit of 30%. So the annual plan totals are 2.47 million, 82% is the gross margin, and then a profit before tax of 26.5%. So this is our first draft of our plan. Other numbers down below, there's a bonus payout that we estimate beforehand. And then there are some balance sheet items like credit cards that we, short-term debt, basically. There's long-term debt that we have from buying out my partner. There's cash. And I think that's it on the balance sheet items that go down below. All right, guys, let me stop sharing my screen here. I hope that was helpful to you in some way. We went over the annual plan for 2022 for last year. We went over the first draft of the annual plan for 2023. This is going to become basically our financial scoreboard that we use to forward forecast each week what each month will look like. And it's the goalpost for this year coming up. Again, it's not finalized. We're going to go through it one more time and finalize it this week. But those are our two annual plans. And we also went through the three biggest changes, or the changes that had the greatest impact on our financials and what led to such great results in our profit in 2022. So again, people support what they help create. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And thanks for watching.